Good morning, everyone. I'm just thinking, do I really need to preach? Like, do I really have to share a message? Because I feel like there's so much that has happened through the service today and through the week, especially with respect to serving others. I'm just thinking, what different can I share here today? But just as Joel read for us the passage which talks about we are called to be free, and as Arpit shared, that we've been doing this Freedom with Jesus series, which started with the retreat. Our retreat was titled as Freedom with Jesus, and it was done with talking about disciplines. Now, freedom and discipline are two words which I don't think they go together, right? Do they? And when we talk about discipline, we always think that it's something that's going to bind us, something that's going to prevent us from doing what we want and push us to do something we should be doing. So it's always taken as a word which is very, very constraining to us, right? And so this book that we all have been reading while, and referring to, based on which we had the retreat, was called The Celebration of Discipline. We ought to do, because as the passage that was discussed in the home group, which says from Matthew chapter 25, verse 40, where Jesus said that it was a story of the king, and the king will reply saying, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." So Jesus was saying that whatever you do for the least of the people, you're doing it for me. So as we follow Christ, we have embedded very deeply in us that giving, serving, feeding the poor, giving shelter to the homeless, and even lending money to the people who don't have, or even giving anything is our service to God. So we think that if we're doing it for others, we are doing it for God. And we can fall into the trap of using that as just a ritual, as a moral duty. It's like a code of ethic. It's not way of our living. And in the home group, I think one of the questions that was discussed is, what makes it hard for us to sometimes feed the poor, or give to the needy, or even just do something that is to go beyond ourselves, because serving is to go beyond ourselves. So I want to know from any one of you, if you had shared during the home group, or maybe if you were not part of the home group and you're thinking about it right now, what do you think makes it hard for us to give to someone when we are not asked for? Why is it so hard for us to serve or give? I can wait, but I will wait until I hear from someone.
In our group, someone came up with an example of a family member who was an awkward person, was a difficult person, and then got to the stage where that family member was in need of help. And so in that case, what made it hard was that the instinct wasn't necessarily to want to, because this wasn't someone you were already grateful to. It was a difficult relationship in the first place.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's particularly hard with one person, not just because it's hard in general, but with that person to help them.
Right. Yeah. Anyone else?
I wonder if you're being condescending to a person, trying to put them down by being helpful when they haven't asked for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes people can take it offensively, like they can take it in a way that we are showing them that they can't do it, so we are coming there. So, yes, so there are many reasons why we think sometimes it's hard, because we have had some history, we have had some experiences. So almost a decade ago, this happened to me in Mumbai when I was just doing my PhD, and I was running my home with the stipend that I was getting, so which was not too much, but just enough for me to run the home. And I came to know an elderly auntie through some common people, and she was very loving, she was very warm towards me, and I immediately connected with her. And one day she called me while I was at work. She was frantic and she said, "Jacinth, I really need your help." I said, "What happened, auntie?" And she said that, "I know this girl, her parents are not here in this country, and she went for a road trip with her friend. She met with an accident, and they were on the way to Lonavala, which is a hilly ride, and the car smashed, and her face is like smashed with glass pieces on her face. So she's very critical, and I would have loved to help her. She's in the hospital, but I need some money to, for the doctors to start the treatment." So I did ask a few like practical questions to her, that, "Auntie, are her parents informed?" And she said, "No, she went to this trip without informing her parents. So they will, really get frantic, and they are not in the country. So I'm the one who is like a guardian to her, and I want to help her, but I don't have money. So can you give me?" And I said, "Auntie, how much do you need?" And she said, while it costs about 30K, I said, "I'm sorry, auntie, I don't have 30K. Then she came down from 30 to 10 to 5, and she said, "Can you at least give me 4,000? And at that time, it was, I think, the middle of the month, and I had probably only 4,400 in my account. I remember the number. And I was like, I didn't even think twice. I didn't even think, how am I going to run the rest of the month? How am I going to buy stuff and all of that? I was like, okay, she needs it. I went to the ATM immediately, took out 4K and just gave her. And to add it all, I didn't tell anyone, including my sister. I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell this to anyone because I've helped someone. I mean, I don't need to really tell someone. And I kept quiet. But yeah, that month I struggled. I just had 400. I didn't even reach out to my sister for help. I just managed. I don't even recall how I managed that month. But I thought, oh, and that auntie told me that she'll give it to me, okay, in a couple of days. So I tried reaching out to her. And she stopped picking up my calls. And then she lived close by. So one day, after almost a month, we just happened to bump into each other. And she got a little, flustered. And I didn't even ask her for the money. And she said, that girl was very critical and she passed away and her parents were heartbroken. I know I have to give you the money, but I don't have it right now. I said, it's fine, auntie, it's all right. And I forgot about it. And then after a couple of months and maybe a year, I just happened to share this incident with some of the common people who had introduced me to her. And I told them this incident, and I said, I don't know where that auntie is, I don't know what happened, but the last I spoke to her or met her was in this incident. And they were like, Jason, did you just give her the money? I said, yes. And then she said that, she has been asking money from almost all of us. We all have been conned, and she struggles with addiction, and she needs the money for drugs. So she has gone around asking money from all of us. We've been a prey to that as well, and we've never got that money back. In fact, she took 4K from you. We also gave thinking she needs it, and later we came to know, no, that's her habit of just taking money, not to help anybody because she's just, satisfying her own addiction. So basically, I was conned, and definitely I got a lecture from my loved ones that next time anybody asks you money, just think and don't just give. So that made me cautious. And a couple of years later, just about a year ago, somebody similar, just whom I know quite well, just reached out to me saying that, I'm having some health issues and I need some money, and I know that girl's mother quite well. So I was quite surprised that I know that girl's mother, that auntie is so, like, she would not ask a penny from anyone, even when she's struggling with something. And for her daughter to come and ask money, I was like, it seems a little weird to me. So I just paused. I asked her a couple of questions like, okay, you are having health issues, so can that test that you really want to do wait for the next month till you get your salary, or you have to get it done right away? She's like, I'm having a lot of issues and I need to get that done right away and I don't have money. So then I just took a pause and I said, I'll get back to you. And then I called up some people whom I know and I just checked, okay, this girl's asking me money, so is she really in need? Because I'm not in the same city. And then I came to know, no, it's just becoming a habit for her to just go and ask money. So I paused and I gently told her that I'm sorry, I can't give you because I myself don't have enough, which was the truth. I was broke by the middle of the month, so I didn't have. So such situations, the reason I shared this story is, of course, this story has a lot of angles, but I think experiences like this make us think that everybody is not trustworthy, and serving somebody could just mean that we are putting ourselves out there to be burnt, and somebody can take our advantage. But then comes the question, but then we call ourselves followers of Christ. We say that we believe in a God who loves us graciously, who's given us so graciously. Then how can we stop ourselves from putting ourselves there where we could just be used as a doormat? We can say that it's okay to be a doormat because Christ himself, who did not have to do what he did for us, came, died a death that was ruthless, that was the most ruthless death he could have died for us, did things, served, went around, walked with people, touched the untouchable, healed people. Some of them were not even grateful for him, like the leper, the 10 lepers. Out of the 10, only one came back. The 9 never came back. Yet he did. And for such a God whom we worship, how can we follow what he did? It's not easy. And it cannot come naturally at all. It cannot come naturally at all. And but Jesus calls us to serve, right? And this verse which says, serve one another humbly in love. Can service come out of humility? It's actually difficult because many a times we are serving so that we feel elated. We feel good that, okay, we were useful for someone else. And sometimes it's hard to serve because we are not in the place to give because, like as, Steve asked, are any of us exhausted to come today to church? Some of us may be, and some of us are in that state of exhaustion. Some of us do not have time because we have other priorities. And in that space of insufficiency, when we ourselves are in that place of insufficiency, how do we give without feeling like we are giving out a bacon? If you remember last week's video where, the chicken is okay to give its eggs because there's no loss for the chicken, but the pig who is called to donate, give the bacon, is like the pig has to literally die. And sometimes for us, serving or giving to others is like, it feels like we are killing ourselves. We have to go through the many little deaths to serve. And it's not easy. It cannot come with our human strength. So what do we do at that time? And I have this picture in my mind while I was preparing for it, and I always remind myself of the picture of a waterfall. There's always a river. It's from a height, and there's the base is filled because there's always water coming. The moment that source is stopped, it becomes stagnant and it can dry up, which is kind of happening right now in our city where the lakes are being dried off and there's no source of water. But it's a free-flowing river, right? There's a source, and that's how the bottom gets filled. And we cannot give if we don't have, we haven't received. And I think that was already said during the service, that we can't give unless we receive. And we can't receive unless we are humble enough to accept that we are in a space of insufficiency almost all the time. We need grace even to love. We need grace sometimes even to love our closest ones whom we live with every day. And it's sometimes a struggle to choose that, okay, it's easier to serve somebody outside because we'll be given accolades, we'll be appreciated, we'll be valued, we'll be acknowledged, because that's something which each one of us long for. But then to serve when nobody is watching, to serve in our closest circles where sometimes it's not something that we are going to be rewarded, but it's something that we're just called to do. It's a struggle to make that choice sometimes, right? Because service out of self-righteousness leads us to places where we want to go, where leads us to people whom we want to serve. But service that comes from a humble heart, from a heart that is led by the Spirit, led by the Holy Spirit and the love of God, not of human strength, but the love of God, it'll take you to places where you and your flesh might not want to be there, but you know you need to be there, so you're compelled to be there, and you're there without feeling that as if somebody has taken a part of you. And even if that is the case, you're still able to be there because you're there not in your own strength, you're there in God's strength. And we cannot give from an empty cup. And for us to be filled, there's nothing that can fill us other than drinking from the well that the Lord gives us water from. So, the verse that says in Matthew chapter 20, verse 26 to 28. Zebedee's, mother, the sons of Zebedee, and the mother asked that, will my sons, it's a passage where they're asking, the mother is asking Jesus that, will my sons sit next to you, or sit next to the, on the throne right next to God? And Jesus answered that, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And I do recall when, again, Arpit, forgive me, I'm taking your name a lot today, but when you were introducing the spiritual council, there's one thing that he said, that the term spiritual council means that, it's a very broad, like it's a very elated term, like that lifts them up, but actually they are the ones who are going to be doing the job which is seldom done, and which is actually servantship, which is why, the hospitality team comes out, where we reach out to people. When we started having the discussion about having a safe group in our community, being safe in our community, it comes from that point of view where it's not about getting anything in return. And some of them, we don't even know the names who are who are behind this. But they are doing it because a heart that believes that it's not about doing something great for accolades or appreciation, but it's something to do with love. And when you do something with love, you don't expect anything. So how does freedom come here? Freedom comes when you stop putting yourself in that bondage of expectation. When I give something to somebody and I'm no longer expecting that it's going to come back, I free myself of that tension, that anxiety, that I don't care if it's going to come back, but I just had that joy that God led me to this place to give, and I've given it. I've done what he asked me to do, and that's about it. I step back. I don't wait for the outcome. I don't wait even to see the reaction of that person, because it might make me feel, oh, I did something great for that person. But I just step back. That is true freedom. That gives us true joy. And that doesn't lead to exhaustion. In fact, that just lightens up. Have you ever decluttered your house? Have you ever given away something where you thought you've just been keeping it for a long time because you thought that's very precious, and the moment you give it away, there's a sense of lightness that you feel. So when we were moving from Mumbai to Bangalore, I do recall giving away a lot of things. And some of them were actually mom stuff, which we had kept for a long time. We couldn't. We had a lot of emotional attachment to it. And there were a lot of things which we had kept, simple things, basic things of hers, which was hard for us to be part with. But then my sister and I decided, okay, it's time to give it to somebody who can use it. And the moment we gave it, we didn't feel like we let go of a memory. We just felt that something just came and covered us and just lightened us up. So there is freedom in surrender. There is freedom in giving. There's a sense of freedom in service, but if it is done with humility and love. And humility and love cannot come from our human understanding. It has to come from an understanding that we are in a place of insufficiency, and we always need to be filled. Because it's not just about the doing that Christ is worried about. It's about the heart with which you are doing. And we cannot give unless we accept that we have received freely. So we give freely because it's freely that we have received. And what have we received? We have received His grace. We have received His love. We have received freedom, which sometimes we just use for ourselves. But freedom is not something that we can hoard for ourselves. It's something to be celebrated and shared. And that's what Christ has given us. So I encourage you, as you move into this week, this day, and if you are struggling to give, if you're struggling to serve, you can start small. And when I say small, small means you can start by just being a listener to somebody who's aching. You don't have to give anything. You don't have to even have consoling words. You can just be a listener. And I'm telling you, that itself brings a lot of healing. That itself is enough for somebody. So start small. You don't have to do anything big. And you don't have to do it in your strength. You can always pray. And I'm sure you prayed this prayer after you had your home group, that, Lord, can you show me someone whom I can serve today? And may that be our prayer today and as we go into this week. God bless you all.